Welcome to The Best of Our Knowledge, a program focused on education, learning, and research. On this episode, we'll attend a school district-wide spelling bee. A new browser-based computer program could help users develop their poetry skills. And emerging from the pandemic shutdowns, a community-focused independent magazine is diving deep into the arts and culture scene in upstate New York. I'm Lucas Willard. It's all next on The Best of Our Knowledge. This is The Best of Our Knowledge. I'm your host, Lucas Willard. Spelling competitions have been popular in American schools for centuries. Founding father Benjamin Franklin is said to have recommended their use in a proposal for a school in 1750. The first national spelling bee was held in Washington, D.C. in 1925. And to this day, spelling competitions are held in schools across the country. Recently, I attended a spelling bee in Schenectady, New York, where middle and elementary school students met for a district-wide competition.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out, parents.
In Mount Pleasant Middle School's auditorium, Schenectady City School District Superintendent Dr. Annabelle Soler Jr. welcomed the participants of the 2023 district-wide spelling bee. More than 24 contestants from 3 middle schools and 11 elementary schools were seated on stage before the first round of the competition. Before the students were asked to spell their first word of the day, the superintendent had a message of encouragement.
And so this is the one word I don't want you guys to ever forget, despite whatever happens here, okay? Your nerves, I want you to have deep breaths, relax. Here's the one word I want you to be able to spell. Winner.
One by one, the contestants step up to spell. Everyone makes it to round 2.
Beetle. B-E-E-T-L-E. Beetle.
Minute. M-I-N-U-T-E. Minute. Trout. T-R-O-U-T. Trout.
The contestants are able to ask the pronouncer to repeat the word, use it in a sentence, or provide a definition. Here's spelling bee pronouncer Joe DiCaprio using one of the provided words, sifting in a sentence.
Eddie is sifting his Pokemon cards to find all the water types, which are his favorites. The word is sifting.
Sifting. S-I-F-T-I-N-G. Sifting.
That is correct.
But soon the contestants are asked to spell new words.
Although the next sections of words might sound less difficult, you have not had the opportunity to study this list of words prior to today's competition.
Round by round, more participants are eliminated. The students take their time. The more rounds in, the higher the tension.
The word is prevalent.
Can I get it in a sentence?
Sure. Malaria is still a prevalent disease in tropical areas of the world. Prevalent.
Prevalent. P-R-E-V.
The audience watches in silence.
E-L-E-N-T. Prevalent.
Sorry, that's incorrect.
Other challenging words that bested contestants: bemusement, ruse, diffract. By round 7, there are 3 contestants left. After 2 misspellings, Central Park Middle School student Amir Miles is up last. He correctly spells contentious before moving on to the final championship word.
Miraculous. Could you use that in a sentence?
Absolutely. When a lightning strike cuts the plane's power, they're forced to make a miraculous landing.
Miraculous. M-I-R-A-C-U-L-O-U-S. Miraculous.
And we have a spelling bee champion.
I asked Miles how he felt about taking the district trophy.
I feel absolutely amazing, to say the least.
This is not the first rodeo for the 8th grader, but it was his first win. The last time he made it to the district-wide competition was when he was in 5th grade.
Last year I got in 5th place for my school, spelling bee, so I didn't come here. But, this year I was able to do what I used to do.
I also asked Miles about what he likes to do with all of this spelling power.
I mean, it was my very first language that I spoke, so yeah, I have a bit of pride in it. And I do write some stories sometimes. I just generally like the finer stories.
His favorite story, Miles says, is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. Heather Keogh, school librarian at Central Park Middle School, says the road to the district spelling bee starts in the classroom.
We start by doing either classroom bees or taking volunteers from classrooms. We get about 30 students for our school bee, which is held in the library, and they get a practice list of words to practice for that. And then from there, our winners get another list of study words that they use for this bee.
DiCaprio, the bee's pronouncer, says he also competed in the spelling bee when he was a fifth grader in Schenectady. Standing behind the lectern, he knows what the students at the microphone are going through.
I think the first thing they think of is, do I have the word? So I could see that reflection of, this is what was said, did I hear it correctly? All right, and then they engage in the spelling process. I saw that pretty consistently. I think that kind of offsets the nervousness, and then the second reaction is, okay, I know that word, let's get after it. Or, I don't think I know that word. And that's where you can kind of see, at least from where I sit, that shift to, all right, I got to figure this out, or hey, I got this.
All competing students took home a participation trophy. You're listening to the best of our KNOWLEDGE. With games like Wordle now a regular visit from millions of smartphone users every day, it seems word games are having a moment, at least in the digital realm. But what if instead of guessing words, users are tasked with creating poetry? Taking innovation from what you might see on your refrigerator door, Poem Renovation is an online program conceived by writer and former newspaper reporter Kelly De La Rocha. A resident of Connecticut who for years reported in New York's capital region, De La Rocha has created a tool that's already being picked up in some classrooms. We spoke about the program and her love of language.
I always loved words. I loved stories. I would read the Nancy Drew books and I'd rewrite the endings of the Nancy Drew books. I don't know, just playing with words was something I was always drawn to. When I got into high school, my parents got divorced. It was a tough time for me. And I turned to poetry at that time. It was a comfort to me, and it helped me to make sense of the way things were in my life somehow.
So when you're working as a news reporter, are you writing poetry just as a hobby as well?
Yes, I definitely do. And also, I feel like there's even poetry in the news stories that I write. I always read everything that I write out loud to see how it sounds after I read it.
So let's talk about Poem Renovation. Tell me the initial idea behind this project and how you came up with the idea to play with language in this way.
Well, the idea, it's kind of been brewing in my mind for a while. Going back to that poetry that I wrote when I was a troubled teenager, I wrote a lot of things to try to define who I was at that time. And so I kept these self-portrait poems that I wrote back then. And recently I took a look at them again and thought, wow, these do not define me as I am now. I'm 55 years old. I've had children. I've moved to many different states. I've had a lot of different life experiences. But I know that I am still in those words. So I got the idea to dissect those poems and then see if I could create a new picture of the present me using those same words. So I got myself some magnetic paper and I printed out a couple of these poems, cut them up, and stuck them on my refrigerator and started messing around with them. And the result that I got was really cool. I was able to create new things with those old words.
You said the magnetic paper. It's like those magnetic poems or that magnetic poetry that you might pick up at a bookstore for a few bucks.
Absolutely. And I've had those on my refrigerator for most of my life. But the thing that I find with them is that they get stagnant after a while. So I wanted to see if I could do something fresh with that same concept. And so what I started to do was take excerpts from books, from poems, from songs, and I would mix up all the words in those and see if I could make something new out of them. And something cool came out of it every single time.
So Poem Renovation is a browser-based web program, and the idea behind it is people click on it every day, and they exercise their brains a little bit.
That's right. Every day at 5 a.m., there'll be a new challenge uploaded. It's there for 24 hours and then it's gone. So you can play with those words all day long. You can do it as many times as you'd like, but you only get one set of words.
I did use the program for today's challenge. Do you want to go through it? Before we reveal what the original passage is, I'd like to just share what we came up with.
Yes, that would be great.
I wrote, like countless ships, bees pour into the hollow. Swarmed in mighty clusters, they flit among the flowers. The spring assembly.
Yes, that's awesome. All right, so mine is, Sally ships bees from that cave in the hollow. Clusters bunched in countless multitude, they flit, pour, and swarmed like some mighty spring assembly among the flowers.
We both said the spring assembly.
We did, and that's so cool. And I used Sally as a name in there. Did you have Sally in
I did
yours?
not
You
use
did not
Sally.
have Sally. But it's interesting to take a look at how there are so many words in this that could be used in different ways.
Right, and a noun could become a verb,
Sure.
and
Ships.
ships could be both a noun or a verb. You can use things as a metaphor. I used simile. I said, like countless ships. I imagined bees just nonstop, just coming out.
Yeah, and my simile was like some mighty spring assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it just gives you a way to talk about language, that's not the typical way that you would necessarily teach.
I think we should read the original excerpt, too.
Okay. It is an excerpt from the Iliad by Homer. They swarmed like bees that sally from some hollow cave and flit in countless throng among the spring flowers, bunched in knots and clusters. Even so did the mighty multitude pour from ships and tents to the assembly.
So this is a book, the Iliad, I think is something that a lot of middle and high school students have read. And I understand that you're doing work in local school districts too.
Yes, I am. I never envisioned this to be an educational tool when I started with it. I just thought it would be a fun kind of daily diversion like Wordle is. But I had teachers come to me and say, this is going to be an educational tool. And I was fortunate enough to have my sister-in-law, who teaches 6th grade, come to me and say that she wanted to try it out with her students back in April, which was National Poetry Month. And that was at a time before we even had the bandwidth to allow this site to be used by the general public. So she did a real basic version of it with her students and found that they loved it, found that it helped to promote confidence in the kids. They just were excited about poetry, which is something that she says they come to 6th grade not liking at all. They have some preconceived notions about poetry being stuffy and boring, and this kind of blew those thoughts out of the water for them.
Did you purposefully choose books that kids are familiar with?
I am now that different schools are starting to use it. I'm looking at Common Core selections that the kids are reading, things that kids are interested in, but I'm also mixing in some other things. Sometimes there are things that are by unknown authors. I've got one excerpt that's from a pamphlet about paint colors. There might be a recipe or an old song. So I hope that it shows that you can make poetry or you can create something interesting out of just about anything.
So what's the future in this? You've gone to a few school districts and some classrooms have tried it out. The students seem to be receptive to it. It's a little small passion project right now, it seems. But do you see more for poem renovation in the future?
I do. I feel like it has a lot of potential. It's a little scary for me because it's just something that I dreamed up and all of a sudden it has taken wing. I'm so excited to see teachers being excited about it. I'm excited to see that it's inspiring students and that I could take part in inspiring a new generation to love words. I have a million ideas about where it could go. I would love to do a version for elementary school students to help them learn to read. I would love to do a version for people who are just learning the English language to help them to learn English. I have some great volunteers who have been helping me with this. Emily Houlihan is a product manager. She lives out in California. She's someone I know from my daughter's 4-H group who stepped up and did the computer coding for this project. I have 2 friends who are graphic designers, Jen Osger and Jane Burry, who have helped me with the look of the site and the logo for the site. All sorts of people have stepped up to help. And now my next move has got to be to find funding to further this. You can only go so far with the help of volunteers, no matter how amazing they are. So I hope to be able to find sponsors or funding so that we can make this even more of a resource for teachers and just get it out there to as many schools and as many students as possible and, see where it goes from there.
So this is browser-based right now, but
yes.
Would you like to see this in app form in the future?
Well, I guess I want it to be as functional as possible. So whatever is the best way for it to reach as many students as possible and be as efficient as possible for the audience, yes, whatever that means, I want it to be.
I'm curious if you caught the Wordle bug and other online word games. I play one called Waffle, where you rearrange letters. And I feel like there's a moment right now for online word games. And people are finding new ways to change up the crossword or the word find or other things that can more easily be done on paper and then are translated into a digital format. But this seems to be the other way around. It's using the digital format to create something new.
Yes, I think this is way easier to do digitally than on the table like I was, cutting up little pieces of paper or putting them on my refrigerator. So, it's similar to Wordle in the fact that you do get a new challenge every day. And I think that's cool. But I certainly didn't start out thinking, I want to make something like Wordle. What can I do? This was really something that came from my curiosity about, poems that I had written in the past.
Has this been able to unlock some more creative juices, so to speak, by being in this every day and challenging yourself every day? Have you seen an improvement or just more going on in your head when it comes to poetry and creativity?
I would say it's great every day. It's almost like I do a little workout every morning when I get up. I do this poem renovation. I look at the words and I think about the words and I rearrange them. And what's really cool too is a lot of people send theirs to me or on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of them. A lot of times people will post things and use the hashtag poemrenovation.com. And so I'm able to see what other people are creating with the words, which is really cool as well. I think most inspirational of all for me is to see the students, and I've gone into a number of schools and taught classes as a guest teacher, just to see what they come up with these same words and how proud they are, and just to see how their minds work by what they've written it's thrilling to me.
Well, Kelly, thanks so much for coming in and sharing, and I appreciate it. And thanks for showing me Poem Renovation.
Oh, you're welcome. So, everybody can access this. It's not just for school kids. I want you to know, it's poemrenovation.com, POEMRENOVATION.com. And I would love to see everyone's creations.
Kelly De La Rocha is the creator of Poem Renovation. You're listening to The Best of Our Knowledge. A longtime sounding board in underground art and music communities in an era before social media, the zine was a prominent and cheap way to showcase creative writings, comics, drawings, interviews, you name it. Now, as artists and musicians are returned to the stage after COVID lockdowns, a 21st century version of the zine has emerged in Troy, New York. Now celebrating its first birthday, Hypersaturation magazine brings together creators of all disciplines, both in print and online, in a machine-bound, glossy, brightly colored volume that reintroduces tangibility to local arts coverage. The Best of Our Knowledge's Jody Cowan sat down with Hypersaturation co-creators Joshua Gruff and Courtney E.G. to learn more about the magazine.
I think we've all had cabin fever from the past few years of just staying inside. And really, it was great in certain aspects because we got to sit back and remember what was really great about being an artist and what was really great about doing music. Our favorite parts turned out to be when we were at the club like hugging each other and dancing with each other. It wasn't posting, brunch. It was going out and being at a brunch drag show. It was like going out and actually connecting with artists, like meeting your favorite singer, going and hanging out with different artists, who are just have different things that they're doing. Getting over that cabin fever definitely helped me give a purpose to this magazine.
And I think the tangibility aspect of being able to hold something in your hands is so much better than just looking at it on your screen. Like, it is so much better to hold in your hand something that somebody has like put their heart and soul into. They've made it. They want you to see it. You're going to look at everything you possibly can on that page. You're not going to just, even if you flip through it, or you flip by it, you might go back to it. You have access to it. It's not going to just disappear into the ether, which is something that I think is really important for us too.
I'm kind of curious of just the nuance of putting it all together. It seems like it would be similar to like curating an art gallery. And certainly when I was looking in digital form, there was a lot of play with, the margins and the way stuff looks on the page, that I was kind of curious as to, from month to month, how much individual freedom any artist has to use various space within the book.
I mean, a lot of the artists have trusted us to hang their art as we see fit, because the magazine is pretty much our art gallery, and we do have discussions about what's going to be in the mag, but then Courtney is eventually the person that has to hang them up on the wall.
Yeah, I am the art hanger, if you will. It honestly depends too. A lot of times it's strange kind of sometimes, because I feel like we'll get a lot of submissions that are like not similar but have like similar thematic elements or like similar colors, and it's like for that specific time period when we do that open call, it's like these people haven't communicated with each other at all. Like, they don't know each other. It's just weird how people feel. Like, I don't know, I felt like that especially with the 7th issue, where we had a lot of stuff with like pinks and reds and oranges and like greens too, but everything played well off each other. I do all the layout design for anything that we publish, so I have to make sure it's, we want to give the artist as much, keep it as true to what they submitted as possible, while also being within the confines of what we have. We'll sit down together when it comes to an issue that's curated and be like, that goes good there, and that doesn't go well there. We should move that. It's a very collaborative process, and it's something that I don't take for granted, because I definitely need somebody to bounce those ideas off of and make sure that I'm doing what my intention and how I look at it is being conveyed and understood, not just in my head, but to other people.
You guys have a full year of published content that's been out so far. I'm counting 7 issues, some more thematic than others. We had a tattoo edition, a fashion edition, a food edition, and then several others that were more kind of artist focused on like the general artist community. And now is this a process? How often? So we're doing maybe once a month. We're doing the submission call.
So we started off. So first 3 issues, we're kind of figuring out what the magazine was going to be. So we just did 3 back-to-back submission issues. We didn't really even think, thinking back on it now, I don't know if we meant to do 3 back-to-back issues, but we just had so much art that was just like, oh, what are we going to do next? Oh, we've got like 20 different things. Let's turn it into another issue. But this year we're going to do every other issue is going to be an open call submission. So And
you maybe might have spoke to that with that last answer, but did you guys set any particular goals for that first year? And if so, do you feel like you met them or exceeded them or came under them? And what might be goals for this next year? Yeah, so the goals are sell enough copies to fund the next issue. And so far, we've done that. Low goals. It's just pretty much full disclosure, we put $150 each into the first issue, and we haven't had to put any more money into the issues because the issues are kind of paying for themselves. So goals this year too are trying to open up a shop, really.
We've gone through the pop-up system, we've all the local craft fairs and going out there, farmers markets, things like that. But I think our home would really be creating like a brick and mortar magazine shop.
With more and more of these comic shops closing and more of these places kind of like shutting down and shuttering, kind of nationwide, and more of a move to digital print and more of these kind of like newspapers, and even here on radio, it seems like kind of like this, I don't want to say dying art, but certainly evolving differently. What feels good, or what feels good about the community here that this could work?
I think that, because it's going extinct. That's part of the reason why we've gotten such a great response for the magazine, for the physical issues. People are picking up the issues. They're like, wow, like I didn't even notice there wasn't a local zine in Albany, but now that is here. Like, I'm wondering now why we have gone so long without local zines. And then I love sharing knowledge. I went to school for teaching. I just love teaching in indirect ways, like through DJing, through this magazine. I'm teaching the people what's out there and possibilities of publication. So I just want to have like a hub to teach people that other people are being create those bridges.
What's been the experience from other artists that you've worked with, or just the response from either audience or from the artist community to having this community now?
I would say it's been really positive, really overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
Still overwhelmingly positive. Like, I, as someone who's afraid of everything, and you're taking your risk by putting, not only you're putting yourself out there, and you could fail, and it's something that's like looming in the back of your mind a lot. And when you continuously succeed or continuously affect somebody in a way, like affect artists or are continuously affecting artists in a positive way, and they keep coming back, and they keep coming to your parties, and they keep talking you up, and they keep recommending you to people, and we keep getting more and more like good submissions and more and more great interview subjects. Like, I can't put into words how good it has been, the reception, like beyond my expectations.
Joshua Greft and Courtney E.G. are the duo behind the independent Hypersaturation magazine. You can see the online edition of Hypersaturation magazine at hypersaturation.com. This has been The Best of Our Knowledge, episode 1690. The Best of Our Knowledge is a national production of WAMC Northeast Public Radio. Thanks to associate producer Jody Cowan. Our executive producer is Dr. Alan Shartok. To hear past episodes, visit our flagship station's website at wamc.org. And until next time, I'm Lucas Willard.